and welcome to my YouTube video. Today I'm going to show you how to paint fur. I'm assuming that you are familiar with the 4 fundamentals of painting. If you're not, then please check out this video where I'll go into them in more detail. Today I will be painting a Springer Spaniel as it has both long fur and short fur, so it's a great example of how to do both. And the brushes that I will be using are a Filbert and a flat brush. But if you can get yourself one of these comber brushes as well by Rosemary & Co, it will really help you with painting fur. Let's begin then. This is an expressive painting, so if you've tuned in to see hyperrealism, I won't be doing that style in this demo. I just thought I'd let you know that. Painting fur then. So to break this down as simply as I can for you, the first thing I'm going to say, number 1, is start with your most obvious areas. For example, the eyes and nose. This will create an anchor area from which you can allow your painting to develop outwards. Painting your obvious areas first will give you a certain element of certainty as you progress through the painting. Number 2 then, block in your large areas. So if you're unsure what these are, if you squint down on your reference photo, this is a natural edit and it will help you see the most obvious blocks of shapes, tonal values and colours. You need to forget that you are painting a dog and concentrate on the shapes that you're looking at. Do not try and put in any detail at this point. So what I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make when attempting fur is not to block in your shapes to start with. You need to paint an overall average value for each obvious area that will give you room to make adjustments as you work through the painting layers. If you are not sure of the average values, squint again at your reference photo. Doing this will remove the detail. Number 3. Build up your layers of paint and become more detailed with each layer that you do. So the paint on the lower layer will be thinner than the paint on your higher layers. You don't want to paint too thick to start with. On my blocking in layer, I tend to thin it with Gamsol, which is an artist's turpentine and can be easily purchased online. With each layer of paint that you add, you should also be adding detail as well. So you've started broad, and then as you've refined, you have become more detailed. Number 4, vary your brush. So are you painting short or long fur, as this will affect your brush selection? Notice during this time-lapse video how many times I change my brush. The less detail I want to achieve in the fur, the more likely I am to use a broader brush, like a flat brush or perhaps a Filbert. If I want to start to add detail and perhaps suggest strands of fur, I will use the comber brush. However, bear in mind that fur is not uniform. It needs to be painted randomly with different marks and different brushes. I would use a flat brush or a Filbert for the lower layers, and as I move through into the detail, I will switch to a comber. Be selective where you use your comber. If you cover a painting in similar brush strokes, it will lose that sense of randomness and just not look realistic. You can also use your finger, perhaps a paper towel, or even the back of the paintbrush to scratch in areas. Don't be afraid to wipe areas back as well. As you move through your painting, the marks that you make require you to be expressive rather than precise. Number 5, soften your edges. So where the fur transitions in colour, tonal value or texture, you want to keep your edges soft. So you can do this by dragging wet paint across wet paint, and it is much easier to do this with brushes like the comber brush than a shorter haired brush. Painting wet on wet for longer fur gives you a lovely ability to be able to drag up the paint from underneath and kind of mix the paint around on your painting as you go in a sort of strand-like effect. It is very effective at creating that dense sense of fur that you see around the neck areas of the dog. This will also give you that lovely soft effect because you don't want hard edges in your transition areas because it will just look too unrealistic. You also want to make sure that where the fur transitions into the background, you also keep those edges soft as well. Hard edges there, again, will make it look unrealistic. So here is the finished painting. I hope you have enjoyed today's YouTube video. Please check out my website, sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find details of classes that I run and examples of my work. If you enjoyed my video, please subscribe to my channel and I'll see you for next week's video.